now we're in the train of thought. I want to get a train. So I found this old red rattler, and this is a 1928 built at Walsh Island, the shipyards in Newcastle. And so this is 9 3/4 platform. And these timbers were made out of an old bridge. So everything is about repurposing. And there's a real reason for that, because everything when it's repurposed has a history, has a narrative, has a story, and children actually feel at home rather than these kind of, I guess, airport waiting lounges, which you see in some of the open planned classrooms with all this lovely new stuff. We wanted to go old. So when we come down into the train of thought, and hopefully we won't glitch, I'll go very carefully. And I found all these old desks. So when children are sitting here in this desk, you can actually feel part of your grandparents' era. You'll also see that I took out the covering so we can see what the structure looks like. And it's just this amazing, amazing space. And you can see also that the walls, we've got a chalkboard for civilization because we're currently in lockdown. And you can see how we have this design for intellectual, for physical or PQ, for the emotional or EQ, and for the expressive. And that's how we program and plan around an integrated frame. So we can actually have the IQ moves into our concept frame, because if you look over this side of the room, hey, look, there's real learning. And so this train on that end has a project-based learning section. When we come back to this side of the train, and I've moved it through. This is a sound recording podcast room and a green room. And so what we've been doing is I've taken the computer out of here, but there's a computer that actually allows us to stream. And the reason we use the green room is we actually, in our reports, we use QR codes, and we actually have the children giving us their overview as a video. You know, these stayed reports, have a look at them, jiggle them up, change them, because we can use multimedia now in a really cool way. And it's so easy, but you've got to know what you're doing. So when we come down the back, the play space, everything is about like a network of a neural network. We've got a tree that you can climb. We've got logs and posts and pipes, and we've got sound. And this whole idea is that it's not expensive. This all came from my farm. We've got this amazing kind of staged area there where kids can be. And this old warehouse is where we're rolling out into that space next. So it's about kids having fun. We put a cargo net, and this cargo net is underneath the train, an old tractor tire, the old seats, the 1950s seats and stairs. This old piano, probably one of the most amazing things I've done, is the number of children playing piano because of the understand Sugatra, which is children will teach themselves. So right now you can see also the greenery, and then we come into this space, which is my garage. And this space is now a woven bamboo with these amazing lights. These lights, a lot of people forget about lighting in schools. This light is Zumabel, and it comes from Austria. And this whole idea is that we have no blue light, and I can actually change the spectrum of lighting by clicking, and it can become orange lights or blue lights. So we can actually change mood through lighting. And then we come down to my tree. And this is the tree that sits in the middle of this room, which we call the tree room, and the bamboo all flows to it. And here, children will read, sit, climb, explore little nooks and crannies. Here we've got this box because there's a piano in there. And this is something that one of the children asked me to put in there. When the school was opening, he said, could you write this on a school? And it doesn't matter. Yeah. Some kids are smarter than you. Some kids have cooler clothes than you. Some kids are better at sport than you. It doesn't matter. You have your thing too. Be the kid who can get along. Be the kid who is generous. Be the kid who is happy with others, for others. Be the kid who does the right thing. Be the nice kid. And that's at the heart of the school. Through here, and we go into Chatterbox. And Chatterbox is a space for children who need to talk to the advocate. We don't call her a counsellor. There's a lot of semantic association with words. So we really do look at language. And again, even in here, you can see our big frame again about what we believe are the universal qualities for success. And you can see our values. But I think like all schools, we want to allow children to have a childhood. We also, last year when the lockdown hit us, I don't want children on computers online all the time. It's not why I wanted to start a living school. So we flipped it and we created on-land learning. So we take the children off to my farm and we have a core curriculum piece down there. And every term we do something different. So we do what we call Survivor or what we call Thriver. And we have challenges. We teach skills such as the skills for sawing, hammering, digging, gardening. They're making their own building structures out of bamboo. We do sports activities, water relays. We go to the beach. We take them sailing. So we have this real experiential thing because I'm a really strong believer, Jen, that to be a happy person, you must have a happy childhood. We have our on-land program on Thursdays and Fridays, and we call it the School of the Open Sky. We also have an online platform where the teachers have been doing amazing things. And we have what we call brain loaders. And we have our teachers who are actually embracing the technology. We have someone showing you how to bait a hook, how to use fishing. We've got another person how to play the drums. You know, if you looked at it as the big thing, you'd miss the journey. So a lot of people just want to get from A to B. I actually have really enjoyed the journey. I've learned so much about regulations and everything else. So much about being a property developer, a planner, a builder, a constructor. So I've really embraced this idea of learning. My biggest hurdle was there are lots of people who want to start schools, Jen, but they don't have the expertise, and expertise is the wisdom of experience. And you know, you really do need that. The curriculum is a key vehicle for a school, but you need the space. And I found that the big issue we've got is we don't have the DA approved locations for schools so that we can have greater diversity. I had to, as you can see, I've had to create this school in my father's old surgery medical practice simply because it was zoned appropriately. And I think that we've got to get our heads around the understanding that if we want to connect with the community, we've got to be in the community. So the other element I found really challenging, and lots of people who say they're going to back you and never do. So, you know, it's not about waiting for other people to support your idea. It really is, if you're passionate about what you want to do and you believe in it, and I didn't know if anyone would want to come to this school. I just wanted to do it. So I just backed myself. Sometimes, you know, to the chagrin of my wife, Soph was going, is this really what you want to do? Because I think the big challenge for all people starting a school or wanting to be in education, it's a lifetime pursuit. But the element of us having a houseboat. So, you know, I knew the school was growing and we were going to have to open at years 9 and 10 because that was part of the trajectory. Now, a lot of people would have thought, okay, let's build a new classroom or let's put on a demountable. I said, hey, let's get a houseboat. So I actually found a houseboat in Western Australia on the internet, and then I had to transport it across the Nullarbor from Perth to Ballina, and we put it in the water, and it's so cool. And it you know, there's a learning space, and it moves. But I think the element of understanding that there's flexibility in thinking, and if we don't do it, how can we expect the students to? What we've done very successfully is says, how do you want to think or learn? How do we want to adapt and develop this? Because it's not a recipe, it's like a lens. You know, we hear this term frameworks. Frameworks kind of trap you within the gilded boundary. You know, I say to our staff, look, this is a sandpit. Put on these learning lenses and start to see things differently and explore. And that's always allowing untethered teaching, as I call it, coming together and trying to maintain the consistency of engagement across the whole school. The school is that. That's Lismore. That's TAFE. Those big lights you can see in the distance, that's the public oval, which we use for our sports. Up that road is the community gardens. Down that end of the road is the river where the houseboat sits. Across behind those big buildings is the public library. So what I really love to do is to jingle things and bringing a community school into a community. So that piece is stop thinking about putting everything into a citadel for kids, which costs millions and millions of dollars, and start thinking about how you can create environments of learning without having to be bound by the four walls and the windows. So the Harkness method was this idea of a benefactor said, how can I kind of change the traditional model of schooling with desks? So the big round table was his answer. It was just a big round table. So we have our students come in and they'll sit as a circle time. Circles are really important. And we will sit around and we will actually conference and discuss the day ahead in the Harkness room with organisation, where the teacher is part of that circle. But with the keyhole, it also means in literacy, the teacher, that does not have to be the adult or the classic teacher, can sit in the middle and share work and comment on work that's all presented around in a circle. So I think the Harkness table is great, but it's got that detachment, because one thing about a circle is you've got a diameter. A keyhole means you've actually got access to everybody. That's the difference in what we do. The focus. I think first of all is being able to express what the vision is. You know, people have to be able to hold it and understand it. And I kind of started by doing engagement sessions, which was we would do workshops and conferences, and people would come in and hear it, and I'd take away information and refine it. And it's really important that, you know, this isn't a school that's just a whim. It's a school where we've crafted ideas from so many places, traditional as well as alternate, because I think everything has merit. When you're creating a pedagogy, it's really about how are you going to, first of all, structure your year. You know, there are a lot of people when we look at schools and we see the buildings as the school, and it's not. I think we have to break free from that idea and start looking at the actual organisation of time as well as people. And, you know, for us, you know, the best thing I can advise is a 6-week term. We have 6-week terms. And no one else was doing it. I was going, why not? They're just shorter blocks. The teachers don't get burnt out. The kids don't get tired. And there isn't that sense of it's just going to, I'll let it roll for another 3 weeks and then I've got a break. The third point I'd raise is once you start a school, you've got to hold the reins as to what the philosophy and the vision is. Schools that are progressive, and I call ourselves progressive, not alternate, get shafted and shaped back into a mold of indoctrinated teaching. And that is a key piece. I really do get to have teachers come who want to be here. And I've had teachers saying, oh, I don't like those lounge chairs. They're just lounging on them. And I'm saying, yeah, but they're staying. So you've got to hold the reins on the vision, or else it'll start to drift back to the indoctrinated state. And there's a really good, and I'll send it to you, a really good quote from Doris Lessing about indoctrinated states. So I don't know if that's answered at all, but yeah, I heard about what you guys are doing and I'm amazed. I think it's going to be great for your community up there from Wollongbar.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Indeed.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks, John. We've probably got time for one more question. So who's the lucky person that's going to jump in? Do a little countdown from 10. in my head. Okay, it's me, John. There was a question right. So right at the beginning of the conversation, when we were speaking before we jumped on for the virtual tour, we were just engaging in a conversation of like, here we are in 2021. We've been through probably one of the biggest events we're going to experience, or we're currently going through it. What is the purpose of schooling then, moving forward, 2021 and beyond? I don't know if that's the right question with a few minutes to go, but at least to get our audience thinking about this as we head off this evening, what is the purpose of it?
No, the purpose of school is to improve community. It's one of our last remnants of community where you don't get to choose who you are with. This isn't a private school. This is an independent school, and we're not selective in the sense of anything we're trying to promote around league tables. There are two questions I ask children who come here, students who come here. Do you love learning, and are you kind? And I think for the future, there's a really important piece of this disruption that's happening. We've got greater division now than we've ever had in our society. We've got greater distrust than we've ever had in a community. And we've got an education system where people are making changes. You just heard Peter. But we've got greater variation in a school than within school, between schools. So my thing for the future is we've got to allow people to trust each other again. We've got to build community. We've got to build an understanding of youth with older people and connecting with the commercial sense of a town, with the opportunities that are greater and more diverse than getting a great mark to get into a tertiary education. We've got to create entrepreneurs. We've got to have a fabric of society that's around human exceptionalism, and that is an idealism. That is something that has to be practically brought to the fore, because when all of this changes and our boundaries are no longer a roadwork or a boundary from a mountain range or a river or an ocean, humans have to get along. And the greatest thing we've got in the future to deal with is what we're doing. It's not about pollution. It's not about climate. It's not about the loss of ecosystems. The greatest threat and problem that humans have is apathy. If we can all start to work on energizing a sense of conviction to make the future better, it will be, because we're the most intelligent species when we combine.